Hello everyone and welcome to another Versus Video Deck Tech. I am BBD, joined once again by
CBM.
And we are going to be battling with some Dragons of Tarkir cards.
Yeah.
Not to be confused with Dragon's Maze, which I almost just said. But
Dragon's Maze and Cons of Tarkir had a baby, and the set doesn't suck so far, so
yeah,
that's all that matters.
It's better than Dragon's Maze so far. I got some Voice of Resurgence in my deck, but we're ready to go. I'm going to be battling with a mono-white deck, sadly without Heliod, which might be an oversight, but this is basically a mono-white Devotion deck, which is now potentially a playable archetype thanks to some new cards from Dragons of Tarkir. So let's go ahead and dive in and see what this archetype has to offer. Basically, the big thing is the new Anafenza. And the way the new Anafenza works is whenever a non-token creature enters the battlefield under your control, you get to bolster one. Conveniently, Mastery of the Unseen produces non-token creatures.
Conveniently.
So with an Anafenza and a Mastery in play, you can actually just pay 4 mana to make a 3/3 over and over and over again. And then, you know, if you need to, you can unmorph it into like this guy or one of these guys, but it is a pretty nifty interaction. And then another one is we have Hidden Dragon Slayer, which is another 2-drop for the deck. The deck needs early creatures to provide devotion. It is a 2/1 lifelink, and it has Megamorph. For 2 and a white, you can unmorph it with a +1/+1 counter, and it destroys a creature with power 4 or greater. So Siege Rhino. Yep. Destroys Siege Rhino, Tazagur, things of that nature.
Yep.
So he's a pretty awesome thing, and one neat interaction with this guy is you can actually manifest him with Master of the Unseen and then Megamorph him and kill something. Or you can even just pay his mana cost of 1 and a white. You don't get the +1/+1 counter, but you still get to kill a creature with power 5 or greater.
That's pretty sweet.
So there's a lot of nifty interactions between this guy and Mastery and some of the other cards in the deck. Past that point, we have Soldier of the Pantheon, which is not the most powerful card, but it is good against decks like Abzan Aggro, or decks with a lot of multicolored cards, of which there are a few. But it's mostly there just as a cheap devotion enabler and a way to gain a little bit of life. And then we have Brimaz, which is probably just the best 3-drop for this kind of a deck, especially when you have a lot of pump spells like we do.
Yeah.
Makes the cats actually good. And then Hushwing Griff, which is here to just serve as like a main deck creature that can maybe disrupt your opponent a little bit. If they're trying to rely on things like Siege Rhino, Doomwake Giant.
Hornet Queen.
Yeah, Hornet Queen or the like. Just having access to Hushwing Griff is pretty important to be able to weather that storm. And then we have a couple of High Sentinels, which this card hasn't seen that much play. We actually both played it in GP Miami last weekend. But it is a card that is very good when you're putting +1/+1 counters on things. And we have Anafenza that can do that whenever a creature comes into play, you can bolster. So there's a lot of ways for us to get value out of High Sentinels, and it's also just very good when you're activating Nykthos for a lot of mana. I wanted to have access to a couple of mana sinks. We have Master of the Unseen is the best card in the deck, basically, and the reason to try to build around Nykthos is being able to activate this, 2-3 times a turn.
Multiple times.
But High Sentinels can also do the same thing. If you don't have a Mastery in play, you can just spread a bunch of counters around and still be able to get something out of your 12 mana that you have available to you.
Yep, and it's also very good against a couple problem cards for this type of strategy, which is why we played it in the sideboard of our green-white deck, Xenaghost the Reveler and Mantis Rider. So
it is a brick wall for those two cards. And then beyond that point, we have a couple of ways to pump things. So we have a Spear. I never like to play too many of this card because it's legendary. And we have 2 Citadel Sieges, which it's possible this should just be 4 because I've heard only good things about this card. But it is a great way to constantly put counters on our creatures. Or if our opponent has a couple of big guys, we can just keep them locked down. And Citadel Siege also doesn't get worse in multiples, really. So
yeah,
it's fine to have more than one. And so I think right now I'm starting with 2, but we'll see how it goes in this video. Maybe it should be like more or less, but we'll see. And a couple of Dictated Heliods, which is just a big powerhouse card when you're curving out. Especially with Master of the Unseen, it just does some dirty things there.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, I can't just not play Elspeth. So I don't really have much to say about Elspeth. It's just a really good card. Doesn't have like great synergies with the deck. It's just a good card. So.
Sure.
And then a few Banishing Lights as ways to handle maybe opposing Elspeths or other problems.
Or opposing mastery of the Unseen.
Yep.
As we saw, that card was everywhere this last weekend.
It definitely was. So our mana base is 20 planes, 4 Nykthos.
Down and dirty.
Yep. It's anytime you're playing deck with 20 planes, you probably made a mistake somewhere in your life. But we're going to battle with it today. Let's go ahead and look at the sideboard first, though. All right, we are back with the sideboard. We have another Elspeth, a couple of Glares, and a Banishing Light. Mm-hmm. Some Wingmate Rocks for more mid-rangey matchups where we want to go over the top of them, and a few erases as well. And then my personal favorite, Mass Calcify, which is really good.
Format All-Star.
Yeah, Format All-Star Mass Calcify. Very good when you have a lot of white creatures in your opponents. It does not have a lot of white creatures. So green decks and the like. It definitely wants some Mass Calcifies. And then a set of Valor stances. Really good against Abzan, good against Green Devotion. There are a couple matchups where you definitely want Valor stance.
Yeah. Really just destroy target Whisperwood, pollute Kronos, and Sea Drino.
Yep, or keep your guys safe from Hero's Downfall.
Yeah.
All right, the last thing I have to mention is that I'm basically really dumb, and I didn't realize that Anafenza and Hushwing Gryff is a little bit of a non-bow, so I included those 2 fine creatures in my deck, hoping to curve one into the other, when in fact it does nothing. So hopefully it doesn't wreck us too much in the games, but I thought I would point that out, that yeah, it doesn't really work the way I intended it. And that's why you do some testing, so you can not do that in a tournament.
Yeah.
But anyway, stay tuned and watch CVM's Deck Tech. He's playing a Dragons version of Abzan, and stay tuned and watch that, and then go ahead and watch our games afterwards, and hopefully I don't get wrecked too bad by Anafenza into Hushwing Gryff. Yeah.
Oh.